Hello everybody, it's again your teacher John. Okay, today's lesson is going to be a little bit long, but it's going to be very useful because we're going to know some meanings and uses about the modal verbs. This is a very long topic, so we're going to divide it into different videos. So, let's go. Okay, in the second part of our video, we're going to talk about the modal verbs of obligation and prohibition. So I'm turning to this military man. So are you ready? Let's go. Okay, the modal verb of obligation and prohibition are must, mustn't, have to, and don't have to. But these will change depending on the tense that we're going to, what we want to express. Okay. Okay, the modal verbs of obligation are must, but the prohibition are mustn't. When we are expressing an obligation, this obligation is very strong and it is based on the speaker's opinion. We can say that this could be a moral obligation, but it is a strong obligation. Also, we can say that the obligation with must, it is an obligation that most of the time is written. The prohibition, it is always with mustn't. Repeat, mustn't. And the negative part, it could be must not separated, or we can make it contracted with mustn't. For example, you mustn't smoke here, or we can say you must not smoke here. Now, another obligation that we have, and this is very strong as well, it is have to. But this obligation, it is not imposed in myself, but it is imposed from the outside. It is imposed for another person to me, or it is imposed to the person that we are receive the obligation. We can consider this as compulsory. It means obligatoria. For example, children have to go to the school. In the British, we can say have got to. What is the thing about have to? Have to, we have to conjugate it depending on the tense. For example, if it is in present, it is have to and has to. In past, it is had to. And in future is will have to. Okay? Now, a prohibition, but we consider this not a prohibition. It is more considered like a not obligation. I am not obligated to do something. So this is more relaxed. So we can say we don't have to work on Sundays. So if I want, I can work on Sundays, but it is not a prohibition, or I am not obligated to work on Sundays. Okay, understood? So let's going to make some examples to understand it better. Now here we're going to make things prohibited. So we're going to make sentence prohibited. According to this is a prohibition. So we can say that you mustn't eat junk food. Here, the use of the cell phone. We can say that you mustn't hear your phone. Okay? This is very easy. When it is prohibited, we use the negative of must. Now, here, we're going to make things that are obligatory. So, let's go. we analyze that it is food that is healthy food. So we can say that you must eat well. And this is also an obligation that it is imposed by myself. It is a moral obligation because I have to take care of my body. So I decided to eat well. But also, as it is imposed by someone else, we need to analyze that it is a strong obligation. In this case, for example, it is imposed by a doctor. Here, speaking English, an obligation. So you must speak English in the class because it is a strong obligation, okay? Now, let's going to make some sentences that it is compulsory. Remember, compulsory. So, the passport, we have a passport. Remember, we have to. You have to have a passport to travel to another country. It is an obligation that it is imposed by someone else. In this case, in the airport, they command to have or give us the instruction to have a passport, that it is compulsory. Taxes, something that most of the people don't like. So you have to pay taxes. It is imposed by the government and it is a strong obligation. Now, let's going to make some sentences with not obligatory. Not obligatory. Remember what are the not obligatory modal verbs? So, it's going to make sentence. So here, no obligation. Here it is clock and it is in the weekend. So we can say that you don't have to get up early at the weekend. So if you want, wake up early, but if you don't have to, well, don't wake up early on the weekend, at the weekend. Here, for example, you don't have to do anything on holiday. So if you want, do it. If not, don't do it. Okay, something here that we have to remember. In present, we say don't have to, but don't remember that it is used for the first, second, and plural person. For example, you don't have to, I don't have to, they don't have to. But in present, in third person, it is he doesn't or she doesn't have to. In present. In past, it is didn't. For example, you didn't have to do anything in the last holiday because we have to add the time expression for past. Now, in future is you won't have to do anything on the holiday. Let's remember that have to and don't have to, they have their tenses. Okay, so the end. So you don't have to do anymore. Thank you for being in part of the video. See you in the next one. Continuing with the video, as we were describing the verbs of prohibition and obligation, if we translate those modal verbs to Spanish are deber or no deber, or no tener que, no tener que. Here, should, shouldn't, and ought to, they have a similar translation to the obligation. It is deber. For example, should is deber, shouldn't, no deber. Okay, ought to is also deber. But those are the modal verbs for advice. Okay, so let's go to analyze those modal verbs. Should, we use should to give advice or to talk about what it is right to do. For example, you should obey the traffic laws in the city. So we are giving the advice to the person to obey the law. Okay, what is the form of the verb should in the modal verb? Also is followed by the base form of the verb. Just remember, we always have the subject, then the modal verb, the base form that is get, and then the complement. For example, we should get a better map. Never say you should to get, this is not possible, and you should get. The is always in the base form. Now in the negative, we use should plus negative, or we can put it together, we contract it. For example, you should not bring so many suitcases, or you shouldn't bring so many suitcases. When we are giving a negative sentence, we are not expressing that something it is not possible, it is not negative. It is a recommendation, it is something good, but we are providing a recommendation. Affirmative, it is an advice, but negative, it is a recommendation. As I told you, the contracted way, it is possible, but in the speaking and informal writing. For example, you shouldn't get lost. This is only in speaking or informal writing. In formal writing, it is separated. Now, the present and future. We use should to talk about present and future. For example, I should put on some sunscreen right now. Or in the future, we should take another tour tomorrow. Deberíamos tomar un tour mañana. So, should it is also used for present and for future. O2. O2 is another modal verb, but in the translation, in the use, means the same as should. So should and ought to are the same. We can say I ought to get some insect repellent, or we can say I should get some insect repellent. But we have to be careful because ought to, it is only used in affirmative sentences. We cannot use ought to in questions or negative statements. For example, shall I open the window? But we cannot say ought to I open the window? No, it's not possible. Always ought to in negative and questions is not used. If we want to sound more polite, we can use sentences like I think or maybe, but before say you should. For example, maybe you should leave me alone. Tal vez podrías solo. Or I think you should buy cheaper airlines. Okay, that was everything for this video. Thank you. See you in the next one.